Welcome back, folks, to Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt DeDuro. And in this episode, we're going to be speaking with a wonderful doctor out of Laguna Beach, California. His clinic is called North Laguna Wellness Center. And today we have Dr. Hank Williams. Dr. Hank, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story. You're a wonderful doctor. You're part of Dr. Dan Pompa's group and Health Centers of the Future. And
Yes, I am.
I love the fact that I like the fact that all those doctors like to get checked by you when you're in town. So that says a lot. You're like a doctor to the doctors.
Pretty much, yes.
And you've got a very eclectic blend, and you were able to work on me the last time that I saw you out in Park City, and thank you so much. Hey, listen, a pretty amazing story that you're going to share with our listeners today. You had a kidney transplant, correct?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
2 years. August 31st, 2017.
And you're thankful for that and recovering well, but you did have some issues right after. They had you on some strong doses of, was it Cipro? Is that correct?
Well, my first transplant, 2009, I was on a strong dose of Cipro.
Okay.
And that gave me neuropathy.
And that's my specialty. That's what we do here at ATL Pain Institute is diabetic and peripheral neuropathy. And you got it pretty bad. And you're a pretty active guy. So tell me what was that like?
Well, I started complaining to him about 2 months after the transplant that my feet were going numb. And I never had numb feet before, never had experienced anything like that. Besides the kidney, I was a pretty healthy guy. Never diabetic, anything like that. Never, no meds, besides what they put me on for the kidney, but they had me on Cipro for a couple months after the transplant. It's just normal procedure. And like I said, within about a month and a half, my feet started going numb, and I kept complaining. And they're like, "Oh, it's the side effects. It'll go away. You'll be off all these meds soon." And it just never went away. And then it just got worse and then got horrible.
And then you had you had a terrible ulcer on your big toe on the right, correct?
Yeah. So that ended up being a virus and some cancerous tissue. And I got that about 4 months before my transplant in 17. I was walking I usually go down and do sprints on the beach. I'm barefoot all the time. And I stepped on a seashell and punctured the skin, and I cleaned it up and everything. But then I developed this hard calcified tissue on the big toe, and then it just started growing to where it covered the whole toe. And so then they started shaving it off. I had 4 biopsies. They couldn't determine what it was. And then I was actually, the day I got called to go get my transplant at the University of Utah, I was going to go have surgery where they were going to cut it out and take a skin graft off my inner thigh and put that there. But because they called me to have the transplant, I flew to Utah to get that and left the toe the way it was. So for a year and a half, it just never healed, being on the rejection meds and everything. Plus, they put me on another dose of Cipro, which I told them I'm allergic and have a problem. They said, well, it's just our procedure. But this time it wasn't for months. It was for a few weeks, but it made my neuropathy worse. So then, the toe, I would put CBD oil and other things and laser, and it would heal up, the skin would go back, but then underneath it would just burst open and all this gooey black fluid, and that would come out, and then it would just get hard again.
Yeah, and one of the things we notice with a foot wound, even with anyone, you need 100 times more blood flow to that area for it to heal. And so you'd already had sensory nerve damage. You've got poor blood circulation. And then I'm out at one of Dr. Pompa's seminars in Nashville, Tennessee in March. And, I'm pitching this I'm telling him about all the versatility of this device. And he says, this sounds too good to be true. He goes, I'll tell you what, I got a good buddy, Dr. Hank Williams. He's out in Laguna Beach, California. If you can fix him, remember what he said? He goes, if you can fix him, then I will endorse this product to all of my doctors. And he's got a reach of, 5,000, 6,000 doctors across not only the country, but internationally. And sure enough, we got one of our sales rep that was in Southern California, and she started coming down and treating you. And a nice shout out to Cassie. And we started seeing an acceleration in your healing. And tell us a little bit about what you noticed.
Yeah, so definitely the wound within a few treatments started healing up and creating some normal tissue. And like after the fifth or sixth treatment was somewhere in June,
mm-hmm.
I went back to the dermatologist who I hadn't seen since before my transplant in 2017.
Okay.
And when I went to see her, she told me, oh my God, this is going to be horrible looking. And so I went back and seen her, and it was pretty close to being healed. And she was pretty amazed. And then she told me, hey, the last biopsy showed that it was like a wart virus and some cancer underneath it that was there. So she was pretty shocked that it was healing back up, especially after a year and almost 2 years on rejection meds and all the other stuff I was on. So,
and the other cool thing is you were able to utilize the polychromatic lights that you had from Health Lights, and you use that in combination, which that's exactly what we do for our diabetic or chemo or peripheral neuropathy patients here in Atlanta. We do a combination. So what we found is that the lithotripsy device is very transformational, but then using the lights on a daily or regular basis is you get the incremental changes. So you're going to increase and keep that blood flow, and that's what your body needed. It just needed the time.
Right.
And the cool thing about the TRT device is that it activated your own innate natural healing ability, which was in there, and we just needed a little extra energy. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say, I didn't use the Health Lights until you said, because I was using the Health Lights and the NeuroCare machine before, which was helping, but we wanted to test the TRT machine without using any of that. So I hadn't used that any
That's right.
time until about July.
Dr. Pompa wouldn't let us do anything but that TRT because he wanted to see. It was a tall order, and we matched it. We just got some out in Northern California. We got Dr. Duncan McCullum, who just got his delivered a couple weeks ago, and then Dr. Scott Kramer. And I love the fact that Duncan is calling this the Star Trek medical scanner. Have you heard him talk about this?
I've seen a couple of his videos on his Facebook page or his doctor's Facebook page.
He's awesome. He's, he loves the fact that it has that diagnostic effect that, and then as soon as and really we turn up the energy sometimes to find and go a little deeper, to find out really the root source of the pain. And when we can pinpoint that area and get to that spot, then we can lower that energy. And that's really what our therapists were doing with you, is we were focusing the max amount of energy on that in the area of your feet and the toe, the balls of your feet to get that healing started. So,
well, we were also doing my low back and my male parts too. So
it's listen, there's Dr. Goldstein, who's basically world renowned and in sexual health for both men and women. I mean, Dr. Thomas Liu has stated that every urologist will have to have this device in the next 2 to 3 years, or their clinics will be antiquated like a flip phone from 2008. And so, and I see that vision for chiropractors, naturopaths, and medical doctors as well. I mean, to get the maximum amount of healing, every city in America is going to have one of these. And I heard the other day that you're going to be getting one as well. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and the people in Southern California will not only get your wonderful healing hands, but they'll be able to have access to this very versatile device.
Yeah, hopefully here pretty quick. We're going to have that and some other therapy machines.
You are going to be one of the centers of excellence for the health centers of the future, and and they couldn't have picked a better doc to start this program with. So, in closing, is anything that you'd like to add? I mean, it's changed your life.
I would say I was skeptical, at first too, because I've tried all kinds of things, and laser worked really good. Like I said, it would heal up, but it wouldn't just fully heal. The CBD oil and that, I think, kept the virus and that under control, so it didn't spread. But I wasn't getting the healing underneath, so it was kind of the neuropathy in the feet isn't the greatest. I mean, it's helped a lot, like 40%. But watching the toe heal has been amazing.
Yeah, and remember, Dr. Hank, there's no cure for neuropathy. And I want you to think of it as much like a diabetic, right? I mean, we have the tools to manage this chronic condition, but most of our listeners, they have to live with it. And I think you're doing everything else around this to promote your body to an optimal state. And
like I told Carrie, I said, for 10 years, I've walked downstairs holding a handrail at night. And now I walk down the stairs at night and I realize that I'm not holding the handrail.
That's pretty cool.
Definitely, balance and all that is way better since having this done. I can tell when I'm out riding my mountain bike or out on my surfboard, my balance is way, way better from being able to feel my feet better, and having less pain in them.
And remember, 60% of your balance comes from your feet. So that's the important part. Listen, I'm going to see you out there in October and November, Doc. I can't wait to get checked by you again. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
You're welcome. All right. Have a good day.
So, welcome back to Free My Pain Now with Dr. Matt DeDuro. We had an exciting guest today, Dr. Hank Williams, sharing his story and some of the problems that went along with his kidney transplant. But so glad to hear he's doing so well. In earlier episodes, we've talked about mitochondria and that being the power plant to your cell and really producing the energy and everything that you need. And pretty excited, Dr. Jay Davidson had just invited me out to Boise, Idaho, where I did the mitochondrial summit. And they had doctors from all over the country and talking about mitochondrial health and how do we get better. And really some of the things some takeaways is that every disease we suffer from are related to the mitochondrial. And your mitochondrial health is really the true state of optimum health and your age. So mitochondrial dysfunction has been linked to all killer diseases of aging. So 40% of women have microscopic tumors circulating in their body. 1 in 5 women will develop cancers in their lives. Your mitochondrial make up 10 to 15% of your body's weight. I mean, just think about that. So early signs of mitochondrial damage are this: becoming a night owl, using caffeine and sugar and carbs as a crutch, loss of joy, loss of stamina, subtle mood swings, feeling mildly stressed. So illness is based on what's going on in our mitochondrial metabolic functioning. If we can work on a cellular level to improve the care of the mitochondria, we can change a lot of situation and in turn, a lot of conditions. So that's really a big sign. Late stages of mitochondrial health are mental fatigue, pain, inflammation, and anywhere in the body that you're having that pain, slow recovery after exertion, foggy brains, loss of libido, cold hands and cold feet, blurred vision throughout the day, and susceptibility to infection. So your overall immune system is weakening. Remember, you have your immune system is working constantly fighting against different foreign antigens. Much like the Star Trek Enterprise, they used to have that force field that they could go put up around them, and the enemies would be fighting. And the more that insult, the weaker the immune system would get, or the battleship's force field. So your mitochondrial function helps produce energy for all your cells. So every birthday you have, every year you get older, your mitochondria will get weaker, and they're not working as efficiently. So what's important, and this is going to get a little technical, but your mitochondria actually produce what's called ATP, adenine triphosphate, which your body can then use to repair and regenerate. Now, many patients that we see in our clinics that have Parkinson's, different neuropathies, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is ALS, and multiple sclerosis. These are all mitochondrial-based diseases. And what's happening in these patients, what we're seeing from the research, is their mitochondria are only producing what's called ADP, adenine diphosphate. And this is an anaerobic state, which your body is not as efficient. So, with the stem cell machine powered by TRT, which is tissue regeneration technology, we're seeing that somehow this is affecting, on a cellular level, the mitochondria. It's almost like it's giving, jump-starting these mitochondria. And we have some pictures of before we use the soft shock wave on them, and then after. And it's just like the mitochondria just brighten up. It's like they're highlighted. And what we're noticing is that now these mitochondria are producing ATP, adenine triphosphate, which is the more efficient level, and it's allowing to use oxygen as well. So that's part of the thing that we're most excited about with this device. And being invited out to this mitochondrial summit, really featuring the stem cell machine. And, it was funny. Some of the docs that were interviewing me, they're like, nobody else has ever spoken about this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be the first doctor to tell you and put this on the platform. And I want every person in America to know that this is an option. And we just don't have enough devices out there. I think there is 100 devices in North America right now. 50 of them are in teaching institutes. So we have them at Baylor University, University of California, San Francisco. We have them at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Cleveland Clinic. And we're really excited. University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Ohio State has one. And it's really, we're seeing this tipping point where this device is people are going to start asking for it. When you saw the stem cell, the regenerative medicine industry take off, that was really consumer driven. That were patients that were reading about this stuff and learning about it and then going to their doctor and saying, hey, I want stem cells. So stem cells may be the future of healthcare, but they're not the future of, they're not the future for the average Joe. I mean, so we see medical doctors millionaires and professional athletes that can utilize this technology right now because it's about $5,000 a joint. And so that's each joint. So if it's both knees you need, that's $10,000. And we're not really sure where we are with, the FDA has not really cleared this. It's not something that we're offering in our clinics. And because the efficacy, right? What are the results? Is it 50-50 right now? I mean, I really don't want a patient spending $10,000 in my office without getting excellent results. And So that's the biggest thing. I think it may be the future, but the costs are just too high, and they're not being regulated right now. The FDA is not really giving the rubber stamp of approval. There are things called exosomes that are so important, and exosomes are really like the messenger RNAs, and they help with the channels to help get nutrients into a cell and waste products out. Something that we're really excited about is there is a cardiac. It's called the Cardiac Gold 100, and it's based by the same technology that we're using. And, ischemic heart disease remains the leading cause of mortality. That's 12.7% worldwide, causing more than 7 million deaths per year. So we now are working on the technology, and this is mostly in Europe, where they're actually using a different type of applicator during open heart surgery. And it showed, the epicardial shockwave therapy improves ventricular function in a porcine model of ischemic heart disease. So we had Dr. John Mullins on last month or 6 weeks ago, and he talked about how they're using this on the infection that happens with the LVAD device. So most of these patients that are on LVAD, or left ventricular assist device, they're waiting for a heart transplant. And they either die because they don't get one, or they die because they get an infection to that lead that's going in. And again, this has an antimicrobial effect as well. And the research is demonstrating that the shockwave activates these cardiac cell lineages from the human heart, and it helps really demonstrates it's producing and expressing the vascular endothelial growth factor, which is VEGF, that is helping create this neovascularization. And it's pretty exciting. My dad passed away almost 23 years ago, and he had a massive heart attack at 58, and he was on a lot of medications, and he passed away from what's called congestive heart failure, which affects many people. And I remember I went to one of his cardiac appointments with him when I was in chiropractic college. And I was asking this doctor all these different questions. And the guy actually put his hand up in my face and he goes, "Listen, don't worry about the side effects from don't worry about your dad's heart. We're never going to get the injection fractions back. Your dad is going to die from the side effects to all these massive drugs we're getting. So just get clear with that." And that's a tough way right now, the current state of technology. So wouldn't it be really cool if someone was able to utilize this after a heart attack? And again, maybe one of the biggest benefits to this device is that it helps decrease inflammation. And we've heard from previous guests and experts that the plaque in your body is not from cholesterol. If that was the fact, then every Eskimo would have had some type of coronary heart disease because, they were eating blubber and fat. So listen, inflammation is the silent killer. I want to thank everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to having you tune in next week. Thank you.